As we make our way through the weapon types in Sacrifice, I think we should take a break and look at the ranged options. These are secondary tools with limited number of uses per combat. You can craft more if you run out, but even the extra in your backpack is limited as well. So you need to deal good damage and not miss a whole lot. And I think the best place to start here is with bows, a favorite ranged weapon of mine that has never failed me yet. Additionally, the ranged items in this game tend to be more on the repetitive side when compared to melee weapons. No combos, no super magic abilities, no interesting unique moves. You throw something out, and you do that for the entire game. So I've decided to narrate these instead of in-game commentary, because there really wasn't a whole lot for me to talk about when in the action. Be sure to let me know down below what weapon we should do next, and let's just jump into this. Can you beat Salt and Sacrifice with only bows? About time we find out. Today's run comes in from a user going by Axehead. We select Ranger so as to start with the class 1 short bow and the stats to wield it. Brigandry is the best crime in my opinion, as we get a knife that grants increased stamina. 16 arrows is all we get at the moment, and as you would probably expect, it wasn't enough to take on the tutorial boss. No, I think we're gonna have to leave him alive this time around. Unfortunately, we already run into our main problem for the run. Arrows are highly limited items. You always get your max amount back when resting, but never get any to restock with during combat unless you farm for Irona ore. Mine crystals in caves, scavenge piles of sacks lying around, all this drops within 1 to at best, around 8 ore at a time. We need at least 30 stored up, I think it was, for every single boss fight. This way we can fight and then restock with the max amount allowed. There are a few better ways to get more arrows and stock up on ore much more quickly, but those aren't available quite yet. As for the starting hunter's short bow, it deals a significant enough amount of damage. Firing off arrows is a bit weird, as you need to hold LB while aiming with a joystick and then press X to let the arrow fly. It feels really awkward at first, but you do get used to it. The main strategy we will use is to run as far from the boss as we can, let off an arrow or two, and then repeat. 16 arrows isn't a whole lot though, and you will run out. Holding down B will allow you to craft more arrows from stored up ore, though this takes a couple seconds to pull off. For now, it's not much of an issue, as this boss is quite slow, but you can see how this might be tricky against faster opponents. It is very important that we use the sprint function, or you won't get far enough away most of the time. And down to my very last arrow, we barely had enough to finish this guy off. A close one to start this journey does not give me a whole lot of confidence. With our grappling hook in hand, we upgrade our bow to +1 and head over to the Frost Mage. I chose this boss next for 2 reasons. He tends to be on the weaker side, taking a lot of damage from mere physical weapons that you always start out with. He also has our next bow option that I want to imagine is a lot more powerful than what I'm seeing right now. No, it isn't terrible really. In fact, for a basic bow, this is pretty solid. But we want power, and elemental damage typically gives you that. Being one of the mages that is no threat at all if you're at a distance, he also can't move around all that quickly, so we count this one as an easy GG. With his remains, we craft the Frozen Fang short bow and purchase a dagger to increase cold attack. Upgrade it to a +1 as well, and let's check this thing out. The ice bow doesn't deal any direct damage. Instead, all of the arrows build up frostbite instantly. The more arrows that connect, the higher those stacks of frost can go. Not really a lot of time to explain here, as the fire mage is weak to cold. Big surprise there, I know. Though one problem you might see here with the Frozen Fang comes in at the end of every mage encounter. Craft the Molten Ring for more HP, and let's go hunt the next few mages. If you didn't notice before, the Ice Bow can't actually kill any mage in the game. It can deal crazy damage over time, which can be helpful for sure, but it deals pure status damage, and status damage in Sacrifice can't kill mages. You must deal the final blow with something else, requiring us to swap back to the normal short bow for the last arrow. Yeah, this makes the Ice Bow pretty annoying to use on mages. Luckily, this isn't the case for regular bosses. They go down as you would expect. As for the ice weapon itself, I really did enjoy this option. You need to fire out arrows quickly for it to really build up damage, but it's always nice when you can dodge around for a bit and still be ticking that HP down. Bulwark Ring grants us better physical resist. Then with an exotic strand found above the Fire Mage's spawn location, we can upgrade our arrows from 16 in total to 17. Green Huntsman gives us a glimpse at bow v bow combat. Riveting stuff indeed. For stats, we'll be pumping dex as high as we can get it. A little stamina, maybe some endurance, that's really all we need. Strangely, there is a bunny hopping technique you can use to release arrows more quickly. This is actually in a lot of these games as an unintended feature for some reason. Or maybe it's actually intended, I really can never tell. Either way, it is sometimes advantageous to use this, while it requires a very quick set of inputs. More often than not, I resorted to the run far away and plink strategy, but at least we can get creative if need be. Arguably, this is the hardest boss for us, as he's one of the very few to stop your restock animation. Most will give you just enough time, but this dude sticks to you like glue. However, I was lucky enough to get the perfect window after a well-timed sprint, and Frostbite was really doing great work here. He drops our first good utility item, increasing range damage by 7%. Just below the castle, we can drop down and grab another exotic strand that gives us 18 arrows at a time. Lightning Mage is important as he holds our next bow. Strangely, most of these are in the earlier part of the game. And, Lightning Guy, very weak to frost. Very, very weak to frost. So quite literally, no challenge here whatsoever. We grab our World 2 runestone and head back to craft the Golden Light Bow. After boss fights, we can spend silver at the main merchant to purchase more ore. This gives you a huge quantity at once for your storage, but at 100 silver apiece, you don't get unlimited. Initially, I wasn't all that impressed by the lightning bow. Yes, it deals our best damage already while not being at all upgraded, but at face value, it isn't as interesting as I cast Frostbite. Well, as it turns out, this isn't just some lightning damage bow. It deals fire and light damage while actually shooting lightning bolts. Like, no arrows at all, but bolts of lightning arcing out. They're shaped as arrows, but don't have as much range as a normal bow, because the bolts dissipate if they fly for too long. Another exotic strand sits above the magnesium supply. With 19 arrows, we're gonna mainly use lightning for the foreseeable future. This thing is so good, you won't need to restock near as often anymore. Most mages do tend to die within 19 arrows, saving you the headache of trying to scramble mid-fight. Draped Amulet grants us faster stamina regen, which let me tell you is very nice. Before we can hit the troublesome boss of every run I do, it seems we need to get through Solid Rock. Apparently, this mage's entire gimmick is that he just doesn't take a lot of damage. Seriously, he's resistant to damage, which to be fair makes a lot of sense, seeing as he's a living rock. This means we definitely needed a restock. I was really worried we would need a second one as well, or possibly that we would run out of arrows. But no, we ended up with an extra one in the end. Definitely not close at all. But of course, Tireless Exalted exists. And man, do I really hate this boss. Now, with a ranged weapon, he isn't so bad. You're back far enough from his melee AoEs, and when the ghosts spawn in, you simply walk forward, then dodge back. I figured the ice bow would be ideal, mainly because his second phase can get really tense, and we might not have time to let loose arrows anymore. That turned out to be the wrong call. My damage was pretty mediocre, all things considered. Almost had him, but he did a weird triple hit that I've never seen before, and it dealt a lot of damage. Another reason this boss sucks, I suppose. Skill issues aside, lightning was miles better. Simply dealing damage works faster than over time and doesn't require as many arrows to be effective. Second phase is a tough one, as it always is. Not to mention, how would we ever restock with this death barrage barreling towards us? Thankfully, they let you perfect block with your bare hands even when not carrying a main hand weapon. That, and some really quick rolls back and forth, granted us the victory. The rest of World 2 isn't much to write home about. I had more trouble with basic enemies than anything else. Another exotic strand sits inside the palace for 20 arrows. Mage of Undead was abnormally weak to my damage, which meant that the fight lasted under 10 seconds. Gotta block some ground spikes, but other than that, we take this win. Light Mage has several annoying minions you need to take care of. Also, I've never seen him cast this many attacks in quick succession. Maybe something about using ranged weapons makes him go into aggression mode. So far, restocking is never impossible, and we always have enough damage to get through fights. Though to be clear, I hit basically every arrow. Missing would be a very bad idea, I have to imagine. We can now purchase the Edge of Hardustus for better light damage, which greatly boosts our lightning bow. Collecting the runestone to Corvus Mire means World 3 is next up on the chopping block. Typically this location is a bit difficult with all the annoying traps, poison, toxic, it just leads to messy encounters. Bow was surprisingly strong here for avoiding those sticky situations. Man, do I feel bad for our mushroom friend here. This dude here just was not given enough health. The poor guy. Okay, finally we can grab the bow I was looking forward to. Rotwood Bow. This is the most unique as it actually deals no damage at all. No initial hit and no status afterward. Instead, it spawns a pinkish cloud where the arrow lands. If an enemy is inside that gaseous cloud for long enough, toxic will build up. Toxic is quite good. Doesn't last all that long, but deals much more damage than poison does. That's all there is to say about it. This weapon is trash. At best, very underwhelming. You need 4 or 5 arrows to build up the status, and then that one buildup is too difficult to keep going. Not the greatest test against a minion boss, though to my surprise, it was deleting the wooden puppets quickly. I think the best strat is to fire clouds near your feet as the boss walks forward. It's very hard to tell if you're wasting arrows or not. In the end, it came down to the status as I was completely drained on arrows and hoping the mushroom poison would help me out. My lucky day, I guess, but don't expect me to use that bow again. Lumenstone grants us access to more bosses as we resort to the lightning bow once again. You know what's crazy? We've already seen all but one bow this game has to offer. Yeah, there are only 6 different options in total, and the Hunter is a straight upgrade to the basic wooden bow, with Rot being terrible from what we just saw. So it's either physical, frostbite, or lightning. Which lightning isn't really a thing, it deals a combination of fire and light. And in my experience, fire kinda clears this game, up until World 4. There's like 3 mages there who resist fire, but early on, it's a monster. The leather ring increases damage, which seems to be all we really care about at the moment. I do find myself defaulting to this option in almost every single run. That's kinda just what happens when you only get 2 ring slots. Damage always seems like the better option, unless it makes you take more damage. Sapblood Heart was uneventful and a nice target to practice on. Dreadstone Peak, we're on our way. Or at least we will be there soon. The Infernal Machine, being largely made out of wood, was no match for my flaming bolts of fury. He does love drop kicking me, as I can never seem to see that move coming. But if it wasn't obvious enough yet, bosses don't know how to deal with ranged combat. In fact, funny thing is, this was the case in the first game. Even after adding all these crazy moves to mages and granting them loads more magic, they still decide to mindlessly walk towards you as you plink on repeat. Works for me, man. Both exotic strands from this world are on top of the tree. One on the left and the other's just hidden below a ledge on the right. Though, if you thought ore was the only thing we need to farm, think again. For some reason they thought adding leather to the exotic strands should be required to make extra ammo, which means we now need to farm for leather that is a somewhat rare drop from supply bags. Plus, the closer we get to max ammo, the more leather is required for each craft. Bro, I was watching TV while farming for that stuff. Not even kidding, that thing took forever to get. After deciding to purchase the leather amulet for even more damage, it was about time I noticed a new artifact in my inventory. See that? 15% chance of free ammunition. That means kind of diddly squat. Very rarely will you not use ammo when firing an arrow. I never really noticed this happen much, though now that I think about it, you're never staring at your ammo amount in combat, so it could be a lot better than I thought at the time. Sanguimancer is one we must go back to, and he's getting really fun. After about 6 or so runs in the game and actually learning some more of the boss moves, combat opens up a lot. This dude loves to spam one combo attack that just deletes you, so once you see it and memorize the tell, he's an open book. And now we can wear the full Sanguimancer armor, because this stuff is pretty darn cool. Kinda heavy for light armor, but cool nonetheless. In Dreadstone Peak at last, it's time for a slog of sorts. This duo tends to be more of a mess, and I haven't quite found a way to deal with them quickly. Part of me thinks maybe status would be good, that way both take damage at the same time. Since they share a health bar, that would obliterate them. Sadly, we have no poison bow, and the Rotwood clouds are too stationary for them, I think. No matter. With loads of healing taken and 8 arrows to spare, the dastardly duo is diminished. Or I could have just said dead. Dead works for the alliteration there too. Ether Cloth Bolt lets us go hunt down our final bow. After a half hour of fighting faded mage hunts, we had just enough silver to purchase one of that duo's armor sets, the skinnier fellow, and it was again pretty heavy for light armor, but with our limited stat needs, this is the best time to throw it on. What else do we have here in the snowy mountaintops? Brain Mage is a problem when up close, but with any decent range he can't even begin to attack you. Stay out of his lasers and you're not in much trouble at all. Time is an issue, always. I mean, getting frozen in place leads to disaster instantly. Plus, he tends to jump across the entire arena, covering ground in an instant. Delay your second dodge after his blade first lands, then begin the process of begging him for a single opening. Eventually, he will have mercy on you. An exotic strand sits just under the Time Mage for 23 in total if you can get there. Then we pick up the Time Mage's amulet, which increases restock speed. Kinda late in the game if you ask me, but a must-have for every pure ranged build. About time we get that next bow like I was talking about. While hunting dragons, we collect the final exotic strand for 24 arrows, maxing them out. Dracomancer is partially fire, with him being a dragon. So I brought out the frost bow once again, with decent success. The lightning bow seemed much easier to upgrade than any other option I had. Even still, when something doesn't like ice, you don't even notice this one isn't quite as upgraded. Also, Draco Boy here only attacks in melee range. So we win this one all day. A class 5 short bow called Red and Gold Great Bow. How the heck is a short bow a great bow? Same way a great axe is a great hammer. For those of you who watched that run. This one I didn't use much yet as it's harder to upgrade. Well, it also sucked that I didn't quite get the materials required for it. Was missing only one. Just one item. Man, do I hate when that happens. Diablomancer is more of a problem than most, with his magic spam cutting off half our extra space. Not that we're really sweating, as good armor lets you take a decent beating before going down. Just don't let yourself get too heavy in the weight department, because you need the extra speed when trying to get back for attacks. For arguably the toughest mage in the game, we have Umbramancer. Does range provide a major advantage here? No, not even a little bit. The idea for this guy is to stay in close actually, so you can dodge behind him every time he moves. Though his invisibility makes it tough to see those movements, I'll be honest. Patience is the key. A lot of patience. Only attack a single time after you know it's safe. Our Inquisitor friend is a similar case. Being far away is not helpful at all since he can jump all the way over to you. Not a big deal as long as we know when to dodge. However, his quick movements were throwing me off, causing arrows to miss here and there from lousy aim. We have more than enough damage, but how on earth will I ever restock? This dude is way too aggressive. Turns out, you literally can't. The restocking animation is just too slow. With some quick thinking, we can swap out our damage amulet for the increased stock speed, and almost immediately we get our arrows back. So yeah, turns out that item makes a huge difference. The Ice Dragon was a tad disappointing on the bow front. Bunny hopping helped me move into position and fire more quickly, though it seems you're not allowed to hold yourself in the air near as long anymore. In the first game, all ranged weapons would hold you in the air a good like 3 seconds if you didn't fire, but here we only get 1 second at best. Doesn't let you jump out of the fire breath very well. This is where I started to notice my range fall off. The lightning arrows can dissipate just before hitting the dragon if you're really far away. He's weak enough that it didn't really matter. For now at least. With the Elder Cop's runestone, it's off to World 5. The bosses here are far more troublesome, plus getting to them is a pain with so many enemies. Ends up, if you sell salt clusters to the merchant, he'll give you loads of silver in exchange, letting you buy enormous quantities of ore for less painful grinding sessions. Somehow this bow is decent at staggering every now and again, but that's when we went up against the Glyph Mage. Yes, that one attack got me again. I really am getting tired of dying to that, but I was too far away and couldn't recover in time. Then on the second attempt, I accidentally meleeed the boss with my bare fist. Insert that one misinput meme here, I suppose. And yes, I am a stickler for the rules, so we have to count that one as a death. Probably the most difficult fight of the run thus far, simply because the man does not take a break. Time for the worst section of gameplay in all of Sacrifice. Climbing this right tower is pure torture for every playthrough I do, made even worse by the fact that my lightning bow doesn't have enough range to take out enemies here. My dragon bow came in handy, as it does not have any range limitation. So even though it is weaker, I did end up using it for something. Worm Who Does Not Die blocks our final upgrade material for this bow. You would think that fire wouldn't be our best option here, but you would be wrong. Originally, I had planned to use the frost bow, but this boss tends to leave very little room for attacks if you get stuck in his flames. And I didn't want the frostbite to quit building up in between barrages. Only one restock needed and no problems doing so thanks to our amazing new amulet. The secret mage fight is really tough, but at the same time, he takes loads of damage. Too bad if you get caught and try to recover too quickly, he punishes you for it. I found that rolling 3 times towards him will negate any attack in his arsenal, mainly because he jumps way up in the air and sort of arcs over. Once again, we defeat a mage who wasn't well equipped to deal with you standing 30 feet away from him. Finally, having a fully upgraded lightning bow, we try and shoot down the lightning boss. Tank through the storm from over your head, then fire a few arrows. Dodge an AoE or two, then fire a few arrows. After several rounds of this, we fire a few more arrows, and the flying triangle head is done for. Seriously, what a weird looking creature. As we like to do around here, let's head into the DLC before facing the final boss. Thus far, I haven't really been thrown too many curveballs. Salt and Sacrifice can be a difficult game, because the bosses attack so quickly, you often can't do anything but dodge. Well, that usually is the case with melee. You do also have other options. Casting magic is an easy way to breeze through stuff. Relying on slow poison can do the work for you while you try to avoid damage. And it turns out ranged items are pretty cheesy as well. Most mages will lore walk towards you over and over, and any of the more aggressive ones still aren't that hard because of this bow's good damage. Takes a lot of work to get all your ammunition maxed out and stay fully stocked with arrows, although once you figure things out, there's a lot of easy ways to do so. Takes much longer to beat the game, mainly because you can't attack basic enemies that often, while it is still a more than effective build type. The 4 Divines, while still a horrible boss, are simply a small bump in the road. We can fire arrows at the eyeballs without too much stress by moving from platform to platform. Go ahead and give me a like down below on this video if you're a real gamer and hate this boss as much as I do. Of course, Barracks, the DLC final boss, is a really tight encounter. For the first 20 seconds, I spent all of that getting thrown around by sword strikes. With the way you pull out your bow before firing, it can be really hard dodging his quick attacks. Often I found myself letting out 1 arrow too many and getting clobbered as a punishment. Armor works wonders in this game though, and with a class 5 set, we're surviving a beating. But that's just problem number 1. Problem number 2 is getting off our restock. And then after barely managing that, we have an entire second phase. Up until now, we hadn't lost a single encounter due to lack of ammunition. This might be where that changes. In a panic, I swapped over to the mushroom bow, hoping to rot him. But yeah, that bow is still terrible. Well, now what? I don't have any arrows left. Oh, wait, I'm so dumb. I still have another restock left for an extra 6 arrows. This was a close one for sure, but not quite as out of the game as I thought. For the final boss fight, we're going in at level 87 with 48 dex, 20 stamina, and 30 endurance. The build consists of better restock speed amulet, lightning bow, increase stamina regen ring, increase damage ring, increase light damage dagger, and the duo boss's armor set. My artifacts were never anything to write home about, outside of 15% free ammo being quite nice. Jump firing felt like the best bet at first, but it was getting too cumbersome to control my direction. While most bosses don't cover ground quickly, this guy will jump across with a grab attack. He loves to do this move if you try and back off more often than not. My main issue was I've been doing several runs with pure melee weapons up until now. At this point, I'm used to damage opportunities that simply don't exist with the bow. Mainly when he throws out the twigs or calls them forth from the ground, you can't quite pull out the bow and fire quick enough. whereas melee weapons can hit with a running attack and still get out scot-free. At least I do finally know how to dodge his double ground slam, which can run you out of heals. Just delay your dodge as much as you can and dodge through him. It's much easier than it looks. Then, of course, with him at 1 HP, I run out of arrows again. Could anyone have predicted this? Yep, I imagine we all did. And with that final soul consumed, we have officially beaten Salt and Sacrifice with only bows. This was not at all the run that I expected it to be. With a time of about 8 hours and 23 minutes, we only died 4 times. Our damage was actually really good, and we never got stuck in bad positions due to our insane range. Unfortunately, the weapon options are a tad lacking. You get 2 picks, lightning bow or frostbite bow. That's pretty much it. Ice is very good against any fire enemy, but in every other situation, the lightning beats it by miles. It was kinda nice though to main a lightning weapon, because I don't usually use those much. Oh, and the armor choice for this run was exquisite. Won't wear that set again because man is it heavy, but the look really grew on me. If you did enjoy the video, do consider liking and commenting down below. It'll be a run or two before I try another ranged weapon, but I'm thinking about either throwing daggers or channeling rods. Both seem like they could have a few interesting options. Either way, people, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.